What's up, guys? Welcome back to the show for Chicks Woodworking. My name is Peter, and today we are building a bench out of only 2x4s. So let's get into it to see how to build this 2x4 bench. So the first thing I'm doing here is just getting the legs cut down to size. Everything that I am cutting here is going to be 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. So I'm starting by getting 4 legs that are 24 inches long and of course cut down to 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. As you can see, had some trouble with this wood. It is all scrap wood that I just had lying around from other projects and stuff like that. So it's not the best wood, but I think it came out pretty good. So now I'm also just doing that with the smaller pieces. Those are some support pieces. Some of them are 12 inches and some of them are 16. 2 of each because the bench is going to be 12 inches by 16 inches. And then, of course, 25 inches tall when you get the top on there. So now I'm cutting dados. What I'm doing is cutting a 1.5 inch thick dado, about 6 inches up from the bottom of the leg. And we're going to do that 4 times with all 4 legs. Just like that, making the cut halfway down the thickness. And now with all of those 12-inch pieces and 16-inch pieces, we're going to cut a 1.5 inch dado on each end. So for all 4 of those, cutting those off at each end. Then we're also going to do that with all 4 legs. So as you can see here, we've got 1 dado in the middle and then 1 dado at the top. Now we're going to cut another dado on the side of the top. Now, just like what you did on the top, you're going to go down to the middle and you're going to flip it over and do a dado on the middle of that leg too. And what that's going to do is give you a joint with 2 dados connecting, and that's where the support pieces are going to go. Now that you've got all those dados cut, we're going to take it over to the workbench and start assembling it. So take your 16-inch long piece and you're going to place it right in there on the bottom of those 2 slits you made. We're really going to want to make sure this is a perfect right angle, so I'm checking it with the speed square quite a bit here. Then once it's good, I'm going to clamp it up there. Now we're going to put that one aside and just do it again with the 16-inch long piece. Want to make sure that they're both the same there. Squaring it up, clamping it down. Now to connect those pieces on top, you're going to want to cut a 16-inch piece that is only 3/4 inches wide. And then you're going to want to clamp those up. So you're going to want 2 of those, and you're also going to need 2 12-inch long ones as well for the other side. Now you see me here just screwing those down, making sure they're perfect, and they're not going to go anywhere. But we're doing that on the back side, so you're not going to see those. So now we're taking it, the router to it. I'm using a 1/4 inch roundover bit, I believe it was, and we're just getting the whole thing nice and rounded up. Then we're doing that on the other side, again with the screws only in the back side, so you're not going to see them. But when you go over with the router, make sure that you really round everything over. Really want this to look like a nice rounded piece and not look like it came from 2x4. So make sure you really do a good job of rounding everything over. And when you're sanding, well, we'll get to that. Now for the fun part, we're going to assemble. So we're taking that 12-inch long piece and we're just going to clamp it right above that other joint on both sides. Make sure you use a good amount of glue and make sure that clamp is tight. Then we're going to go ahead and do that on the other side as well and wipe off all the excess glue. And then take those 12-inch pieces that you cut, and that is going to be to connect the frame and make the frame complete. So make sure that you get those clamped down because that is actually where your pressure is going to be. So now when that's drying, we're going to go over to the miter saw and cut 12-inch long 2x4s. Because as we know, the bench is 12 inches wide, so we're going to want to cut those to 12 inches. I cut about 6 of them, then I took them to the miter saw, the table saw, and I ripped them down to make them square, got off all the rounded edges off them. And these aren't going to be the exact size, so I'm going to have to rip 2 of them down in the end to make them a little bit smaller so they fit the top of the bench perfectly. But for right now, we're just squaring them up and getting them ready to place on top of the bench. Now I'm just doing a dry run, seeing how it's going to look on the top. Obviously there's some overlap on those sides, like I said, so I'm marking that with a pencil, and then we're going to cut those off after. But the first thing I did was clamp down that dry piece as a reference point where the other one should go. So I'm clamping them down to the top, and I also have glue on the side of them there. So they're glued down to the bottom of the bench, but they're also glued to each other. So it's going to look a lot nicer, more like one solid piece when the bench is done. As you can see there, I am taking that piece off. I cut it down and now it's good. So now we just clamped it all up and let it dry for about 3 hours. Came back to it, took all the clamps off. As you can see, it's still very clear that it is a bunch of separate pieces on top. So we will get to sanding that later, but what you saw me do there was take the router to it one last time to make sure that those legs are nice and rounded over, and now I'm sanding the heck out of it. I didn't film most of the sanding because it probably took around 2 hours of sanding just to make sure the thing was really soft and got all the imperfections out. After we're done this, we are going to use the router one more time to round over the top of the bench, but just a lot of sanding, like I said. Now we're taking the router to the top, doing that same round over bit on the very top there, and now we're done with the router. So we're going to sand the heck out of the top. Really want to sand the top. We really want to sand the top better than anything we sanded before because we want that to be the softest part. So now, once you've sanded it down, you can either stain it or not. I decided not to stain it. I probably will in the future, but for this video, I really like the way it looked with the natural pine, especially the top. I really like the way the top looks. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for the video. This is the complete project. As I said before, super excited with the way it came out. Really like the finished product. And yeah, it was a fun build to do. As I said, the Dados was a new thing that I hadn't done before. And I'm definitely going to use them again because it came out looking really nice. Yeah, so that's going to do it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please like, comment, subscribe. Comment down below any other videos you'd like us to make. And we'd be happy to do it. But until next time. Thank you for watching.